In this video, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about Monday.com automations.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I'm a certified Monday.com partner and the founder of Simple Day. My goal is to help you build powerful yet simple workflows with Monday.com. If you need help with a custom implementation, my contact details are in the description below. Let's jump into today's tutorial and make Monday the best part of your week.
Before we jump into how to actually build automations, I want to take a step back and make sure that you understand what automations actually are. If you think about a real life example, let's say that I'm baking something and I need to set an alarm for it. So I can set a timer on my oven or on Alexa and it's going to go off. So I don't need to think about it. I don't need to manually remember it. I have set my alarm, which is really automated. It's the same exact concept within Monday. If you have anything, any repetitive process that can be automated, reminders, notifications, new tasks that need to be created, anything that is repetitive, you can create automations for that. Now, let's jump into how automations actually work. In order to have an automation, you need to have a trigger. A trigger is that something happens, which then causes an action to happen. So a trigger can be when a date arrives, then create this action. So again, we have a trigger, and that trigger is something that happens that we want to cause an action to happen based on that trigger. So every single automation within Monday.com is built on that concept. You need a trigger. What's your starting point of where your automation is starting? And then what is your automation actually doing? Now, you can also add in different variables or qualifiers, such as if something is in a certain group or if a person is something, which we'll get into. But it's this concept of having a trigger, which then causes an action to happen. I'm going to show you the automations from a task board that I have set up. So in the top right corner of this board, I can click on Automate. And this is going to open up the Automation Center within Monday.com. If you notice up here, there's two different parts or sections to the Automation Center. The first place is a place where you can get templates and create automations. And the second part is where you can manage automations. So let's start with the create automations. Now, what Monday has built is they have preset recipes of automations. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see that they have all of these different categories to help you find different automations. So let's just say that I want to do an automation about a status column. When status changes to done, so when my task is marked as done, move it to the completed group. I can either search on the side or I can search in this search bar for the word status. And here you can see that I have a whole bunch of automations that came up. And this is the one I want. When status changes to something, move something to group. So I'm going to use this template. Now this template opens up for me and you can see that there are a few items that are grayed out. Any information that is grayed out means that I need to fill it in. I need to choose the columns from the board or what information I need to use. So in this example, when status changes, I'm going to choose my status column, which happens to be called status. And when it changes to something, so these are all of my options. When status changes to done, I want to move the item to the group completed tasks. As you can see, I've created this automation. All I need to do is hit create automation. Now, going back to the concepts that we spoke about, having a trigger and an action. So my trigger is when status changes to done, and my action that I'm completing is move item to group. Now that I have made this automation, you can see that it shows up over here where I can manage all of my automations. There's a lot of different things that you can do to manage automations. First, you can view them in different ways. So here you can see I have this compact view. If I want, I can change it to a classic view where I just see it a little larger. Additionally, I can turn them on and off by changing this toggle. I can also click on these three dots where I have the option to edit it, mark the importance of the automation, duplicate it, save it as a template, see the run history, like did it actually run, what happened, were there any errors, delete it, or transfer ownership to have someone else in charge of it. Now you can see here that I can also add a description, and I have the information about the owner. If it's an app, it will tell me which app. Here it tells me how many times it's run, the success rate, and the last time that it was updated. And if you look up here, you can see a little bit about your run history, like when the automation ran, the connections that I have, because sometimes automations connect to third-party tools, like if you're connecting to Gmail. So you can see the connections, and account usage shows you how much you're actually using it. As you can see here, Monday is actually using to their Autopilot Hub, which is one place that pulls in all of your automations and all of your integrations, which is when Monday integrates with third-party tools. That's a relatively new feature. Now, the other type of automation that I can create is a custom automation. You can see here that I can click on this button over here. I can also create it from the Create section. If I click on Create Automation, I have the same thing, a trigger. When this happens, that's my trigger, what's starting the automation. And then do this. What is my action that I want to do? So I'm going to do a different one. I'm going to say when date arrives. So I'm going to search for the word date. And here I have when date arrives. Then I want to get a notification. Okay. So now again, we have our grayed out areas, and I click on when, and I'm going to choose one day before the due date. I have to choose my date option, and that's going to be due date. So one day before the due date arrives, then I need to notify, and here I can decide what the notification is. And I'll just say this item is due tomorrow, and I will save it. And I need to decide who am I notifying. So I can choose to notify only myself, or I can choose a team member, subscribers, a team. In this case, I'm going to choose someone from the people column, and I'm going to choose the person. So we've built our automation. The trigger is when the due date arrives. One day before that due date arrives, I want to notify the person that's marked in the person column. Now, if I want to build on top of this and get a little fancier, what I can do is I can also add in qualifiers. Now, if you go back to our board, you'll remember that we have a group of tasks that are open and a group of completed tasks. Let's say I only want this notification to apply for tasks that are still open. So I can push this plus button and add a condition. And I can say only when item is in group, and I choose my group only when it is in the open task group. So what I've done is I have my trigger. I added a condition only when this happens, then notify this person. Once my automation is completed, I can click Create Automation, and you can see that it will be added to my group. It's really important to test your automations because you want to make sure that they're working properly. In this case, we're not going to be able to test the one that we just created because we're dependent on the date arriving. But we're going to test the first automation that we built, which is when a task is marked to done, move it to the completed group. Let's go back to our board, and I have this task of create logo, and I'm just going to change the status to done. Let's see what happens. You can see here that it was moved to this group, completed tasks, which is exactly what we wanted. Now, as you get more complicated in building out your automations, you really need to make sure to test it thoroughly because you need to make sure that it does exactly what you want. A lot of times when you do something like move an item to a board, mapping the columns can be confusing. So you need to make sure that that is tested properly, as well as any automation that you are building. I do want to add one more point that there is something called workflows within Monday.com. It is a newer feature, but workflows is an advanced level of automations. Essentially what it does is it's the same thing that it has triggers and then it has actions that are completed, but it has a lot more complex options within it. You can do something like if this, then that. You can put a delay into something. So depending what kinds of automations you need to build, you may want to check out workflows because it may make more sense to build it in workflows. But if you're first getting started with Monday.com, I definitely recommend checking out the Automation Center, understanding how to build basic automations, either using the recipes that I showed you or creating your own with the custom recipes. I'd love to hear about what kinds of automations you are creating, so share in the comments below.
Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.